What's up, Cowboys Nation? Welcome back to the channel, and let me tell you, there's some big news coming out of Dallas this week. As always, our team is laser focused on getting better each and every day, and that's how we're going to bring home more wins. Before we get into today's updates, you already know the drill. Smash that like button and make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, so you never miss out on the latest Dallas Cowboys news. All right, let's dive into it. First off, we've got some fantastic news about our secondary. Both Darren Bland and Trayvon Diggs were listed as full participants in Wednesday's injury report. That's right, Cowboys fans. Two of our key defensive backs are trending in the right direction ahead of Sunday's big game against the Detroit Lions. For Bland, this is a huge step forward. He hasn't played yet this season while dealing with a foot injury, but the optimism is growing that he'll be ready to suit up for his season debut against Detroit. How exciting is that? We've been waiting to see him back on the field, especially after his breakout 2023 season, where he led the league with 9 interceptions, 5 of which he returned for touchdowns. That's a new NFL record, folks. As for Trayvon Diggs, he was dealing with an ankle injury leading up to last week's game against the Steelers. He still played and put up a solid performance, and now he's back to full participation in practice. That's exactly what we want to see going into a game where the Cowboys need their stars on defense to step up against a tough Lions offense. On the flip side, though, we're still not getting great news about Micah Parsons. The edge rusher missed last week's game against the Steelers, marking the first time in his career that he's been sidelined by injury. He's still nursing that ankle sprain from Week 4, and it's looking more and more likely that he might miss another game this Sunday. Parsons did not practice again on Wednesday, and with the Cowboys bye week coming up in Week 7, it seems like the team might be targeting Week 8 for his return. While it's tough not having Parsons out there, giving him the time to fully recover might be the smartest move in the long run. What do you guys think? Should the Cowboys play it safe with Parsons or try to get him back sooner? Let me know in the comments. Aside from Parsons, we've got a few more names on the injury report that you should keep an eye on. Let's break it down real quick. Marquise Bell illness. Did not participate. Eric Kendricks shoulder/calf. Did not participate. Nick Vigil foot. Did not participate. Zach Martin rest. Did not participate, but that's just routine. For Marquise Bell and Eric Kendricks, it's still unclear if they'll be ready for Sunday, but their absence from practice isn't a great sign. Nick Vigil also didn't participate, and with his foot injury lingering, there's some concern there too. On the bright side, Darren Bland, Kalen Carson, Trayvon Diggs, Tyler Guyton, and Maris Lufau were all full participants in practice. It looks like Bland will finally be making his return, and it couldn't come at a better time as we gear up for a tough matchup against Detroit. Speaking of Darren Bland, Cowboys Executive Vice President Stephen Jones was pretty upbeat about Bland's chances of playing this Sunday. In a recent interview, Jones said, "I think Darren Bland has a real chance. I don't know if he'll play the whole game, but I think he's ready to mix in." That's exactly what we want to hear. Even if Bland doesn't play every snap, just having him back in the rotation will be a big boost for our defense. Jones also noted that unless there's a setback, Bland should be ready to suit up and help out in the secondary. Bland was a game-changer last season, earning his first Pro Bowl appearance and being named first-team All-Pro. With him back, alongside Trayvon Diggs, our secondary will be much better prepared to handle Detroit's receiving core. Now, let's talk about this upcoming game. The Detroit Lions are no joke this season. They've been playing tough physical football, and they're going to be a big test for our Cowboys. Their offense, led by Jared Goff, has been lighting it up, and they've got some dynamic playmakers in the passing game. If Darren Bland and Trayvon Diggs are back in action, it'll make a huge difference for our defense. But we can't ignore the fact that Micah Parsons may not play again. That's a big loss for our pass rush, and it puts more pressure on the rest of the defense to step up. DeMarcus Lawrence and the rest of the line will need to get after Goff and disrupt the Lions' timing if we're going to pull off a win. This game is massive for a couple of reasons. First, it's another opportunity for the Cowboys to get a statement win. After that gritty victory over the Steelers, Dallas needs to keep the momentum going. Secondly, we still haven't won a game at AT&T Stadium this season. Crazy, right? That's something the team will be focused on correcting as they look to defend home turf and build some confidence heading into the bye week. Finally, the injuries. With Micah Parsons likely sitting out, it'll be up to the rest of the defense to show they can hold down the fort without their star. It's also a big test for the secondary, as Darren Bland will be looking to shake off the rust and prove he's still one of the best cornerbacks in the league. All right, Cowboys fans, we did it. We're officially on a 2-game win streak. But let's be real, that win against the Steelers last Sunday was hard to watch. Yes, a victory counts just the same in the standings, but if you watch that game, you know it wasn't exactly inspiring. Statistically, the Cowboys took some positive steps in the right direction, but there's still a lot of work to be done. The advanced analytics reflect this. For the second week in a row, the Cowboys climbed in total DVOA, defense-adjusted value over average, but we're still only making small gains. Overall, Dallas remains in the bottom half of the league in efficiency, which isn't where we want to be as we get deeper into the season. When we compare the team's DVOA to their Dave score, which combines preseason expectations with actual results, the Cowboys are currently ranked 12th in the league. This means we're about 6 spots below where we were projected to be at this point in the season. The good news? We're inching closer to that mark, even if it's happening at a snail's pace. Looking at EPA, expected points added, the Cowboys' offense has officially crossed over into the positive quadrant. This means we're now performing above the league average on offense. We're hovering around the same efficiency as teams like the Falcons, Eagles, and Colts, which isn't bad company. But let's not forget, we're supposed to be in the conversation for elite status, and we're not there yet. On paper, it looks like our offense had a great game against the Steelers. Dak Prescott threw for over 350 yards, and Rico Dowdle had a career night. But here's where it gets tricky. We only scored once in 4 red zone trips, and 2 of our 9 drives ended in touchdowns. That's not the efficiency we need if we're going to compete with the top teams. Prescott had some costly mistakes. His 3 turnovers, a blocked field goal by Brandon Aubrey, and Dowdle's fumble, which we did recover, cost us 18 points in total EPA. In contrast, the best play of the game-winning catch by Jalen Tolbert, added plus 4.6 EPA. So while the offense moved the ball, the inefficiency in the red zone hurt us badly. Now, let's talk about Dak. Outside of his 3 turnovers, he actually had a great night. If we ignore the turnovers for a moment, Prescott would have ranked second in the NFL in EPA per game for Week 5, even against the Steelers' defense that was ranked 5th in EPA/game coming into the matchup. Of course, the turnovers do count, and even with them, Prescott finished 6th in EPA per game this week. This tells us that Dak's performance wasn't as bad as it might have looked on the surface. He's typically careful with the ball, so hopefully, this was just an off night in terms of turnovers. If he can clean up those mistakes, we might see a much more consistent performance moving forward. One of the bright spots from the Steelers game was the performance of our offensive line, even with Tyler Guyton going down early. Tyler Smith stepped in at left tackle, and TJ Bass played guard. Despite the adjustments, the line allowed pressure on only 31.1% of Prescott's dropbacks, the second lowest pressure rate the Steelers' defense has managed all season. It wasn't a perfect performance by any means. Zach Martin was the only lineman who didn't allow multiple pressures, but it was good enough to get the job done. And hey, we've now cracked the top 10 in the league for adjusted sack rate and run blocking efficiency, with 2 rookie starters. That's something to feel good about as we move forward. Now, let's dive into how the advanced stats tell a different story than the traditional box score. The Cowboys outgained the Steelers by a significant margin in total yards, but the offense wasn't particularly efficient. On the flip side, the Steelers only averaged 3.5 yards per carry, but their run game was still very efficient, ranking 4th in EPA per rush for Week 5. The Cowboys' run defense took a hit in efficiency, even though they didn't give up many yards. But there's some good news on the pass rush front. Even without our top 2 edge rushers, We posted a surprisingly efficient night, with 5 different defenders recording 2 or more pressures. Our secondary deserves a shout-out for their performance, too. Trayvon Diggs and Jordan Lewis took turns covering the Steelers' top receiver, George Pickens, and held him to just 2 catches for 5 yards on 5 targets. That's the kind of lockdown coverage we need to see more of as we face tougher offenses down the stretch. One area of concern, though, is DeMarvion Overshown. While he's been praised for his speed and productivity in the run game, his coverage skills need work. Overshown leads the team in targets allowed and has given up 20 receptions so far. Only 18 players in the entire league have allowed more catches, and he's allowing one of the highest completion rates among defenders with at least 10 targets. It's still early in his career, but if Overshown wants to take his game to the next level, he'll need to improve in pass coverage. So, Cowboys fans, what do you think? Are you pumped to see Darren Bland back on the field? How do you feel about Trayvon Diggs being at full strength again? And what are your thoughts on Micah Parsons potentially sitting out another game? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let's get the conversation going. As always, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We've got more news, analysis, and exclusive Cowboys content coming your way, and you don't want to miss it. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, go Cowboys!